Hello, and welcome to our presentation on the effects of district reclassification practices of EL students on ELA CASP scores. My name is Candi, and I will be joined by my colleagues Gia Garreau, Felisa Patino, and Rebecca Reyes. Before we begin, we want to ground everybody on some common understanding of two important terms for our study. The first is English language learner, which refers to a student in K-12 who has been identified by the Home Language Survey as having a primary language other than English. And upon taking that initial language assessment, lacks proficiency to succeed in a regular instructional program. The second term that's important for this study is the term long-term English learner, or LTEL. An LTEL is an English learner who has been attending school in the United States for a period over 6 years, however, is not making adequate language progress. Namely, they might be stuck at the same language level for 2 or more consecutive years, or in some instances, we might even see them regress in their language skills. To give you a broader understanding of how many students we are talking about, in California, we have over 1 million students who have been identified as English language learners, which is approximately 19.4% of the current student population. And on the most recent data available, over 300 of those students have been classified as long-term English learners. In order for us to understand the current state of ELs in California, it's important to note the history. The history is very complicated, and we had the very first discriminatory laws passed against English learners back in 1855, which stated that instruction had to occur in English. Then later, probably the most significant case was that of Lau versus Board of Education, which in 1972 stated that first requirement that public schools had a responsibility to provide additional language supports to their students who were acquiring English as a second language. However, we had a shift in the other direction in 1998 when Proposition 227 was passed by California voters, which really restricted bilingual programs and also stipulated that English language acquisition or immersion would be limited to a 1 year period. However, in 2000, we had some positive news, and California became the first state to develop English language development standards and also the first to implement a language assessment, which at that time was known as the CELT. So now let's jump into reclassification practices. Currently, EdCode identifies 4 criteria for reclassification of English language learners. The first is that students perform at a minimum at a level 4 or higher on the LPAC, which is the language proficiency assessment that replaced the CELT. They also look at teacher evaluation, parent consultation, and also how a student performs on a basic English skills test, which in most cases is the test that is utilized as a smarter balance assessment. However, in California, this is a local control state. So while we do have criteria for reclassification, districts do have local control over how they apply that criteria, which has led to, in many cases, more stringent criteria being applied by districts. Thus, many students are remaining under that EL identification for longer than is necessary. Which really leads us to our purpose statement and research question. Our study aims to determine how variations of English language reclassification practices impact EL students' performance on the CASP. Our research question is, what is the difference between district reclassification practices of EL students as operationalized by CASP scores in grades 3 through 5? Why this matters? This matters because we know that English learners are among the lowest performing student groups on all academic indicators, and data suggests that these achievement gaps persist beyond their schooling years. On average, the national graduation rate for ELs is 27% compared to 84% for all students, and EL students are 20% less likely to attend college after graduation. And of those students who do attend college, the majority of them are concentrated at the 2 year community college level and are overrepresented in enrollment of remedial courses.